Welcome to part 4 of tonight's Opportunity Zone event. We are talking tonight about a Funders Fund, a project that we are now launching to enable small businesses to raise money through Opportunity Zone investments, and it's limited to businesses that are located in Opportunity Zones, because we're trying to make most advantage of this new legislation, and we want to have the impact in these communities where this money is being directed. In this last part tonight, I'm going to be talking about how we intend to conduct our campaign in the same manner that we would be supporting our clients in conducting their campaigns within an Opportunity Zone setting. So I'm going to walk through what our campaign is going to look like, which will be a pretty good showcase on what it would look like for a client that we'll be working with within this program. So we begin with an analysis. Again, those who have seen me talk and teach on raising capital, invariably a lot of people come to me and go, I have no idea who to talk to, which is a scary statement, but that's generally where they're starting their thought process and how they're going to raise money. So the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out, as I've used the phrase, who loves you more than you love yourself? Where are you the missing link, the key, the secret sauce to solving somebody else's problem that makes you invaluable to them, and so they feel compelled to give you whatever resources they have because you're helping them achieve their particular goal. So we go through this particular analysis, and we've done this for the center. We've identified different classes and types of investors who would support what we're trying to do. And this is a first step towards trying to figure out where we need to focus our efforts, how we need to frame our communications, what kind of deal we're going to structure. Everything I was talking about in the last part, where we decided we have 2 types of campaigns and prices and classes of investors, was driven by this type of analysis. We looked at capital sources. These are people who also are going to help put money in the hands of the same business. So as an example, Colorado Lending Source, where we're at now, they package SBA loans for 40 banks in Colorado. So if one of our clients was potentially a candidate to get part of their capital raised through an SBA loan, we could talk to Colorado Lending Source about introducing this to one of those 40 banks. If they happen to get turned down by a bank, then they have 3 different lending programs here within this organization, which are for people who did not quite meet those particular ones. They call them character loans or other types of loans. And again, we might be talking with Colorado Lending Source about, well, if we can raise $100,000 in equity over here, can we borrow $250,000 over here from one of your programs? And so anyone who's a capital source, whether they're a government program, a lender, somebody that's helping with accounts receivable financing, these are all people who would look at this and go, this center really would be helpful to me because it's going to drive more traffic. It's going to help me do what I do. It's going to make me bigger, better, stronger, more potential customers to me. So they are what we call an ally. They're both selling to the same customer but complementary products or services. The next group we're looking at are classical investors. This isn't necessarily the priority I would put them in, but they're on the list at number 2. Ignore that for the moment. This is people who are investing for a return on their investment. Because we have this potential to have some extraordinary ROI after 10 to 20 years, we're going to find a number of people are going to come to us, look at all the other investments that are out there in an Opportunity Zone and going, you're saying that if I put $1,000 in and get $10,000 back in 10 years, that my $9,000 capital gain is tax-free? Yes, because you made an Opportunity Zone investment. That's exactly correct. If you came in under the private offering, you don't get the tax incentive, but if you're looking and comparing any other Opportunity Zone investment, we may stand out as having one of the better, stronger, more probable ROIs at the higher scale than anybody else that's out there. And so we're going to attract people who are looking at this purely from an ROI standpoint. We get to impact investors. And these, as we've been talking about during the break, are social advocates for a particular purpose. It could be workforce housing, it could be the environment, it could be getting people out of poverty, it could be education, a bunch of different things. And they may see us as a vehicle for getting money into businesses that they think are the best champions for solving the problems that they care about. And because of that, we are, in effect, an enabler to somebody they've already identified as a potential business they would like to invest in, but they're not comfortable that their investment standing alone is going to get them where they want to be. So they may invest in us in order for us to help them raise that $500,000 to $5 million and move them more rapidly down the road. The next group is economic development advocates. We anticipate that we are going to be welcome in any community in which we go into in the state of Colorado. We are building a board of advisors. We are probably going to populate that board of advisors primarily with economic development people who represent some geographical region of the state or a municipality or county, something along that line. And we are an aid again to them because the small business in their community, they can bring them to us and go, you know, can they qualify to get your particular service, which helps them fulfill their mission as an economic development agency. And then lastly, we put my crowdfunding hat back on here at this point. I could go to any small business in the state and go, all right, if you ever intend to raise capital, you really want us to be around and running at full tilt steam because we are advancing platforms and systems and things that do not exist in this state that can make your capital raise, whether you do it outside of us or with us, a lot easier. And you might even be one of the potential people we support. So you might throw $1,250 or $2,500 into our investment with the hope that somewhere down the road you're going to become one of our clients. In fact, we were talking with a group looking to engage me in a consulting service, and we were talking about fees and so forth that I would charge to them, and I was pointing out to them, just because I have a tendency to shoot myself in the foot all the time, well, you know, you could put money into the center and then become a client of the center and you wouldn't have to write me a check at all. And you would make an investment out of that. And I think I lost a client prospect at that time. But it's true. I have a tendency to think through all sides of this. And I'm going, yeah, you might be better off just investing in the center and position yourself to get $50,000 of services under this structure. So we go through that. Over here is what's called it's a CPACE chart, not to be confused with Colorado PACE program. This is a mechanism of showing relations based upon some reason, and we will give you all the slide deck. We publish that and distribute that to everybody, so you'll get that tomorrow or the next day.
The official name, Karl, is dendritic chart.
That's one name for it. This is a particular, yeah, never mind. Anyway, but up here it says, this person is looking for capital and help in raising capital. So we got all the Colorado small businesses over here. We got all these different ones. The reason why they're clustered the way they are, because as you're telling your story, you're going to change it for each one of those. You don't want to go out with a one-size-fits-all where you're talking to this person and they're hearing the story over here or vice versa, because anytime you don't communicate directly, you're losing intensity and you're losing credibility in your pitch. So our communications are going to cover the full range of everything that we can do. Hopefully before we get to the end of these, we have already raised our money so we can wipe these off the chart. But we're going to start with the website, which is a needed mechanism to allow moving the documents back and forth. Then we're immediately going to move into person-to-person, hand-to-hand combat, because I'm going to be calling people I know. I'm going to be telling them exactly why this is good for them, and I'm going to give them a chance to say yes or no. And that's the quickest way to move through the communication process. If they say I need more information, or my accountant needs to look, or I need the approval of my spouse, I know I'm already probably dead in the water, but we'll give them that opportunity to download that from the website, and we'll move on. We will create flyers. We're going to try to make it easy for people to share our story with other people. We have an offering memorandum, which is now done. It'll go through continuing refinement and improvement, but it's ready to go. And then we're going to do a series of events. So I'm going to go through some of these in more detail. And then social media. And I am not a fan of social media I don't think it solves a whole lot of anything. In fact, it often creates noise and confusion. But there is a time and place for using it effectively as a supplement to these other types of communications. And we'll do some advertisements. So I'll walk through these here quickly. This is the team. Yeah, so right now we're working with only a handful of people. But by the time we're done, we'll have 25 people on the team between the coaches, the managers, the advisory board, and other people. And they're all part of the team, and they all have their network, and we're going to use that network intensively. You can't get on the team without committing to help out with this. Not only to tell the story of who we are, to help us recruit clients in, and then, of course, to the extent they know somebody who can help put money in, we'll reach out to them. We'll then move into networking. As an example, I was at the Opportunity Zone breakfast this morning, and as I was introducing myself, I mentioned we're working on a funders fund, which got a number of people who want to talk to me. Again, every member on the team is going to be given a capability. Ron's talking about going to the Oz conference in Grand Junction on December 12th. He's going to go fully armed and loaded in the event that we haven't raised our money by that time period. And even if we have raised our money, we're looking for clients. So we want to get the word out to more people. We're going to look at a kickoff event, and most kickoff events involve alcohol, which I'm all in favor of. But the idea is we're going to invite in key people who have networks, who are influencers, and get them in the room, give them a briefing, give them the cheer squad pitch, and then ask them to help us and give them the tools they need to go out and talk to their particular networks. Between the people that we already know who are big in small business, entrepreneur, local industry association, economic development, we could easily get a couple hundred people to a program like this to kick it off. We're going to use public media. Time is money. So rather than telling one-on-one, if we get the chance, we'll do radio interviews, start setting up things with a different business-oriented, entrepreneur-oriented things, where we'll get the airwaves out. This is shotgunning, but it will serve its own purpose of building credibility if people hear about us from multiple sources. And occasionally you'll get a strike where you'll meet somebody you didn't know, and they love everything you're doing. We are going to use social media. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. My preference is to do blog postings, which will go through a list of topics that we've already identified, like what is Opportunity Zone, small business development, community help, these kinds of things. And then, oh, by the way, we're facilitating this through the center. If you want more information about the center, go to our website and get more information. But again, we've got existing followers amongst various social media already. I think I'm up around 2,000 or something on LinkedIn. It's some large number. And some of them even read what I write, so I know, because they give me the tracking information. But we'll get everybody doing that. So again, we're going to give them a storm here where everybody on our team is going to be doing something. Then we throw in communication channels. This meetup being an example of that. So by being here tonight, this is going out to the world, to all 7.5 billion people who all will have a chance to invest. We're going to do a capital tour, and this is something I'd like to start as soon as possible. Your trip to Grand Junction would be part of that, where we're going to put together a program. We're going to ask for a local entity to act as a sponsor. It could be a chamber of commerce, economic development agency, or industry group. And we're just going to want to talk to their members long enough to explain who we are and what we're doing. This is primarily a client search, again, where we're going to be trying to make people aware of the program and trying to get the best and the brightest to come to us for assistance. But we also will have a chance to raise money during that and elevate our status in the area. We're going to work with community organizations. I've already talked with the Economic Development Council of Colorado. I've talked with the State of Colorado Office of Economic Development, and through that, their small business development centers. I know personally about 24 economic development directors for different counties and regions. and cities, and we're going to get all of them hearing about this. Then lastly, lost my chart there. There we go. We're going to do a small business thing. We're going to explain to small businesses, if you know what's good for you, help get the word out about what we're doing. We're actually, in some sense, we are a social impact force here to help the entrepreneurial community do things that have not yet been done and which are needed to fill this huge void within the capital spectrum. And this will be beneficial to all small businesses, directly or indirectly, no matter how indirectly, even if they don't receive the direct benefits. Business down the street or one of their customers or somebody in their supply chain may be a beneficiary of our program. All that comes home to them. And so, again, bringing them up to speed, showing them how. And you can see in each one of these audiences, I'm talking about something different. We're talking about where the benefit occurs. I have to have a different message, and I have to make sure I get it out to each of them. And some of them I'll need to give the tools so they can share this through their networks and get the word out there. So that brings me to the end of that part. Does anybody have any questions? We've gone a little bit over time. Any questions on how we're going to run our capital campaign? Well, what you're seeing here is how we would approach any of our clients. We want to figure out who cares, what kind of deal we have to put together, how that allows us to tag people who are more inclined rather than less inclined to help us out, create a story, present that story where they can see it, give anybody who likes what we're doing a chance to share that information further, and build that network over time. Technically, within a very short period of time, we would like to be considered an asset of any small business in the state, of any economic development program within the state, and have people looking to us to help them do something locally, either by picking a company out of their backyard to be a client, or maybe helping them set up a smaller version of the fund that's localized to them. Those are all potentialities that we'll get to too soon at the current rate that we're sprinting. But as things now stand, we're probably going to go live this weekend with everything being in the right place at the right time so we can officially start accepting money. And we are also looking for a first company to put under contract as a client, and we're willing to do that now before we're funded. We will essentially advance the services and costs out of our own back pocket to get that in motion. We're in conversation with 2 or 3 businesses at the current time, but we're happy to consider other options if somebody wants to talk to us about their particular business that thinks that they would fit well and benefit greatly from this type of a program. I'm going to, at this time, go through some of the resources that are available to you if you're putting together an Opportunity Zone project or a fund. And these are sources of information that we've identified since last year that either share documents or information or provide services or technical support that may be of benefit to you with regard to your particular project. The first of these is the state of Colorado. Jana Persky is the director of the program involving Opportunity Zones for the state of Colorado. Jana continues to act as a major spokesperson about Opportunity Zones to make people more aware. And then they have a particular program, which is a matchmaking program on their site, which you can now go to and register, whether you're an Opportunity Zone business or not, and put yourself out there where people can see you and know that you exist. When we're talking about what we want to do within our fund, we want to take this kind of activity and enhance it, getting into a lot more details. So from a database standpoint, we're going to have more elements that we can determine that are related to each other so that you're getting a more precise match. And we're going to be actively adding information to this rather than depending upon people to come and post their projects. Another source is Interactive Map of Colorado. You may find one on the website for the Office of Economic Development, but Ross Hare has set up this one called Oz Colorado. and he works in the real estate industry. So this has additional information beyond the Opportunity Zone information available at the state on different things involving real estate for all the communities that are in these many opportunity zones that we have in the state of Colorado. As I mentioned earlier, tonight's program is video recorded. Upon editing, it'll be posted up on YouTube. It's under my channel, the Karl Dakin channel. It's free access. You can watch it 24/7. Hopefully you've got better things to do than watch my videos all day, every day. But we have a lot of people who benefit from having access to this information without having to travel all the way to Denver. We're not only putting this out where we have people across the state of Colorado viewing these videos, but we have a number of people from other states who are now watching this as well. Yet another group, there's a Facebook group at this listing, and you don't have to worry about writing this down because the slide deck for tonight, once finished, will be distributed via the Meetup site. You'll get a link where you can download this, and you'll have the slide deck, and it'll have all this information in it. This is a Facebook group that came together a few months ago. They're trying to act as an aggregator of information and news and stories on opportunity zones, and so it's another place where you might look for ideas or examples, or you might find somebody who's already started a project similar to the one you want to do, and you can ask them if they will share that information with you. The Oz Guide is an online newsletter by Medora Ventures. This is a kind of a weekly online publication, and they're hitting a lot of the big projects that are in opportunity zones, and they're also getting experts who are talking about some of the issues that come up from time to time with regard to whether you comply or don't comply with some of the rules, or where you have to be careful not to go outside of the rules, and that's a free subscription that's available at that site. Then if you're I mentioned earlier today that the Council of Development Finance Agencies, the CDFA, this is a group that works on providing information and public education on topics dealing with public financing. So tax incentive financing, municipal bonds, anything that a city or government agency can do that might be a form of funding or financing. This group puts together these educational programs, and they're top-notch, and you can get certified as an expert and things along that line. And they've currently just completed another workbook and a series of workbooks on the financing of the food industry. And if any of you are working on food projects, you really should take a look at what they're doing there. I'm going to post the information and the links up for that again on our website, so you'll have an ability to see those. So I'll be putting out an email and putting it into the discussion page on the Meetup site. But a really good group, do excellent work in that area. Yet another one is the National Council of State Housing Authorities. They've created a directory of every Opportunity Zone fund that they can find. It's not complete, but it's the best single site I know of for listing Opportunity Zone funds of all shapes and sizes. And I'm not certain how often they're updating this, but it creates another source of information to go to. And this is another group. It's called the Global Institute of Innovation Districts. This is a new nonprofit that was created recently, but it's a spin-off from another institution that's been working on the concept of innovation districts. And I agree with their thoughts that they express that innovation is critical to success of any economic development project, to the success of any community, and they're putting out information on how that can be achieved, and also providing information on different projects where innovation is made a core factor. And that brings us to my contact information. This is the Meetup. This is our group right here. If you go to meetup.com, Opportunity Zones, that is our group. Anyone who watches this video is free to join this group without charge. and they can benefit from all the information that we distribute out to the group as we try to do these events roughly twice a month. We have 2 more scheduled for November and 1 for the month of December, and then we'll skip into January. So we have 3 more events yet this year, and we're going to be continuing to work on things that people bring to us as issues or topics that appear to be something a lot of people would like to know about. On my website for dakincapital.com, we are posting the guides that we create for each one of these events. Nate and I are working on creating essentially a more deeper narrative with more information and more illustration for each of the events we've put on this year. There's, I think, 7 or 8 now, and you can get a copy of each of those and download those for free as a PDF from my website. Finally, as a sponsor and as the presenter tonight, feel free to contact me if you have a question or are looking for assistance in putting together an Opportunity Zone project. My goal is to help all the communities in Colorado and also now in New Mexico take advantage of this tax legislation and use it to help your community be all it can be. And so if you need some help along that line, please contact me. If I can't help you, I'll try to refer you to someone who may be able to do that. And so thank you and good night. I guess that's the correct phrase.